Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Victor and welcome to my YouTube page, which is all about helping people navigate through their awakening process. And today's video is going to be a question and answer video where I answer many of my subscribers' questions that they have throughout the week. And I always leave the questions so you can see them right below in the description box. I sometimes worry that I'm going to get left on the old earth. I see so much hatred and racism in the world right now that it feels like I've gotten on the wrong train and I'm headed to the wrong place. I think this is a couple of different layers to this. I think there's a big misconception about what this ascension process really implies. I think a lot of people feel like they're really going to shift in like an instant to some sort of magical fairyland where everything is just radically different and you can just kind of fly around and we're not in bodies, we're just these light beings and everything works beautifully. I don't see that going down personally, I really don't. So if you have that mindset, then yes, as you look around into how things really are in the world, you're gonna see, wow, I must not be there. But all you're really not, you're not accomplishing that distorted notion of what the ascension is. So that's kind of tripping you up right there. I would modify your definition of what it means to ascend. And it's also common to feel like you're going to be left on the old earth because of how hard the ascension process is going to bring you face to face with all of your emotional densities, which will be experienced in your body. It'll be talked about in your thought processes. You'll see it reflected in your world, and it's only natural for one to assume that, wow, I'm on the old earth because look at how dark everything is. My emotions, my thoughts, my experience. It is so negative and so dark and so heavy, and I feel just awful. I feel so pinched off from whatever sense of divinity I once had is now gone, and I'm stuck here. But you're only stuck there. You only put yourself there because you knew you would eventually climb out of it, and you knew that to ascend, you must let go of this stuff. This experience you guys have that feels this way is a consequence of holding on and harboring certain misaligned, dense energies in your aura. And you would not have the proper know-how or ability to transcend it if you weren't very confronted with it. You would have just gone on like most people, totally oblivious to it, if not triggered to such an extent by your experience. But this experience is going to motivate you to say, okay, what's the deal here? Am I on the old earth? What's going on? That's going to eventually sort itself out into you saying, what am I doing to create this? What am I holding on to manifest this? And then you start asking that question, you'll start to find the answers. And once you start to find the answers, you'll be able to let go of it and transcend it permanently. So someone asked me that they're worried they might be an energy vampire. They always feel energized around groups of people, and the larger the group, the better. I've also even visualized myself feeding off of their energy, but never without sending back positive, loving energy. So here's what I suspect. I suspect that you're mistaking the feeling of synergy when you're in a group, that sometimes groups of people kind of become, their energy sort of harmonize and synergize and causes something bigger than themselves. Bigger, it's like the Gestalt theory. The sum of the whole is great, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and you're sensitive enough to perceive that. That's different than being an energy vampire. An energy vampire is unconsciously, using the divine light in other people to feel better about themselves. And I think you have a fear that you may be an energy vampire, which is why you're having these like visions and whatnot of like feeding off of them. That's just that you're afraid of being an energy vampire. So it doesn't sound like you are, man. The fact that you're consciously giving them loving energy back, energy vampires don't do that. I think, again, you're just experiencing the harmony and how good it feels when you're around a bunch of people that you dig and you resonate and you vibe with. It feels good. It is energizing. Hello, Victor. Please, could you do a video on crystal children? Thank you. Now, I don't claim to know the specifics of, like, there's different, like, classifications of, like, the special children. There's indigo children, crystal children, rainbow children. There's just, like, Minutean children. I can't think of the word, but another type of children. I honestly don't know if these are just little classifications we like to put on these kids, and what truly differentiates one from the next, if there is such classifications, like in the higher spirit realms. But what I can say is that I've seen and witnessed a lot of the children I can perceive to be very high level, old, wise souls. And they're coming in mass amounts. There's a lot of them. A lot of the children who are being born now are prepared, being kind of aware. They're coming into a new place, a new way of living, a new earth, essentially. And it's going to be a lot different for them. So, again, you're asking the wrong person if you want, like, a list of traits specific to a crystal child. I can say my own children are certainly very different. They're not like normal kids in the sense like when I was a kid. They're very full of their spirit energy. They have a very vibrant souls, you could say. And I think the world is becoming filled with them. And I think it is these children who are going to end up teaching a lot of us adults how things should be done as they grow up and kind of find themselves in the world. Someone says Bashar, who, for those of you who don't know, he's an awesome channeler. He's an entity, calls himself Bashar, who comes through a man, and it's a channeling experience. So she says, Bashar says that we're shifting through different realities billions of times per second. And we also know that all time is happening now. So if I can shift to any reality at any time, I want to get out of this situation and move to a better reality. So first of all, the whole shifting through different billions of realities, that's just like a euphemism, a way of explaining how life works, how we are like a consciousness that is in the now, and we are attracting different parallel realities into our awareness that make it seem like a linear progression of time. But it's just a way of just explaining it, which I'm a huge fan of Bashar, but that to me is complicated to a lot of people. I wouldn't focus too much on that. But what they're saying is, if I have the choice to shift to a different reality, then I'd like to leave this one. And is that possible, to just shift yourself to a new reality? I believe so, but I believe that very few people actually believe that, truly. In a sense, I believe that, but I don't believe it enough to actually do it. I think a lot of us, if we actually could do that, if that idea really was in alignment with our ultimate belief systems, then we would be able to do such a thing. But manifestation is limited to your actual beliefs. Not what you would like to believe in, but what you truly deep down believe in. And if you don't really believe that you can do that, then I would not wait for that to happen. I think that's a big stretch. One time, me and my wife were convinced, after watching the movie The Secret, that whatever you think comes to be, right? We wanted to win the lottery. Why not? If you could believe if anything you think about comes to be, and guess what? We focused on it. We made a manifestation board. I said positive affirmations. I wrote it down, and we started getting dozens of lottery synchronicities every single day. We'd feel like compelled to go play, and it really felt like it was going to happen. But then I got to a point where other things in your life that conflict with that goal start to break down. Like my business closed down, like things like that. Like, well, if you're winning the lottery, buddy, well, you don't need this. And it just became too much of a mess, and I realized the limitation of my ability to believe that thing. So I would, to help you in the way that's not exactly how you asked, I would try to not so much embody that escapism mentality. I would not plan on escaping from your present circumstance. You came here to deal with it. So the faster you admit that and own your situation, and then you start to take action to kind of change it, that's the fastest way that you're going to change your world. That's a much faster process than getting to the point where you can believe that you can just shift yourself out of this reality. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've yet to see someone do it. Another person asked kind of in a sense the same thing. Living on this planet is difficult. I often wish that I can get done, just to be done and go out back to where I was before. I know that I came here to assist with the Ascension, but often regret that decision. what do I do? What did I get myself into, you know? Yeah, man, that's a very common state of being, because the ascension process is incredibly hard. And you wonder why you would have taken on such a painful, challenging journey. I've thought that myself a million times. Many times yelled. I've talked to my guide and said, get me out of here. I don't know what I was thinking when I came here, but it was obviously a massive mistake, and screw these people. They're so negative and so dense. To hell with them. I don't want to help them. I want to go back to where I came from, because this sucks. That's a common state of being that a lot of people experience. But eventually you'll realize the futility of thinking that way. The universe is not going to pity you. A lot of people feel they're entitled to some sort of payoff because of the pain they've experienced. And though that sounds okay, it's just not how the nature of reality really works, if you haven't noticed. So you can complain about it all you want, but your life is going to remain exactly as it is until you own it, take responsibility for it, and then change it. You did come here because you knew you'd get through this. You knew you'd experience this exact state of being, and you knew eventually you'd get sick of it and just move on to something else, and eventually climb your way through this ascension process and then actually be a helper. So there's nothing I can say that's going to pull you out of it. All I can say is I've experienced that before, and eventually I got sick of feeling that way, and again, I saw the futility of it. Nothing's going to change because you dwell and long to be somewhere else. How bad is it to have a lower frequency sexual relationship? Can that affect us energetically? On one sense, yeah. On another sense, I think it's a big misconception that people have that they need to very quickly eradicate low vibration people from their life. Those low vibration people are teaching you a lot about yourself, and that's why they're there. Oftentimes, we become aware that a particular person is a lower vibration person. Not to even label them as a lower vibration person, but more so their energy it's not compatible anymore. And yet you find yourself kind of stuck in this relationship because that person is bringing forth a lot of your own lower vibration energies, and that's a very beneficial thing. So don't be so quick to get rid of these people. Don't feel guilty if you want to go party with some like low vibration chicks. This kid's like a 21-year-old guy. He just wants to go and have fun. Nothing wrong with that, bro. So essentially someone has asked me that they find themselves compelled to make really big changes in their life. And they referred to one of my videos where I mentioned that in the context of the video, I said, in this particular energy state, it's not wise to make big changes. So he feels like maybe I shouldn't. I don't want to screw myself over. So a couple things. All of you, any of you, please don't just take things I'm saying so literally. Oftentimes, your experience is going to contradict what I'm saying. I don't claim to be a perfect source of everything for everybody. And a lot of what I say really does pertain to the context of the conversation, and snippets taken out of the context oftentimes will contradict. I'll seem like I'm contradicting myself. But really, again, you gotta let the whole picture unfold. But yeah, in my own experience, I've made a lot of very big, drastic, random changes. And I don't regret a single one. Sometimes you make a big change and it's a big mistake. But you learn from that mistake and you grow from it, and then you don't do that again. You somehow benefit from it. There's no such thing as mistakes if you look at it from a different perspective. So on one hand, you can make this big, massive change, whatever it is, and it can be the best thing in the world for you. And you'll say, wow, thank God I listened to my gut. On the other hand, it'd be a big mistake. But if it's the bigger the mistake, the more you learn from it. And then you just get to have a smarter way of going through your life as a result. So don't be afraid to take massive action in this context, okay? You listen to your spirit, your inner self, and you go where it says, and oftentimes it will contradict your logical thinking mind. You'll rely on this inner guidance until you realize that you actually are that inner guidance, and then it'll just be like, it'll kind of be more in harmony with what you think about things. Your logical reasoning mind will eventually catch up to your intuition. But for a while, there's your intuition, then there's your crazy mind. And during that time, you should listen to your intuition, even if it tells you to do something that people are going to perceive to be weird. Weird. Like for me, I married my wife. Her father bought us this really big, nice, beautiful home that many people are like, wow, you're so lucky. And I created like this little business. I made my entire basement into this beautiful personal training gym. I got to kind of live at home and didn't have to worry about money. And everything was just perfect. And me and my wife had an awakening experience, and we decided to sell our house abruptly. Within a month of that experience, we were out of that house. We bought an RV and plowed into the unknown. With a child, with 2 dogs. Everybody, they thought we were freaking crazy. We were just nuts. They were like, wow, these guys have really lost their mind. And I don't regret it, man. It taught me so much. It was such a fun adventure that so many people are afraid to do. I would never say don't take massive. You don't be afraid to take action, man. I'm getting ready to move again. Me and my family are going to do the exact same thing. We're about to sell we're about to probably rent our house out, hopefully, and buy an RV and go live out in Southern California until we can actually afford to buy like a big house that we want for our family. And people that know me, like my family and friends, they're gonna think that's just as wacky as what I did before. In fact, they might even think it's more wacky because I've already done that. And we ended up coming back to Michigan. But I know what's right for me, and I will do what's right for me. And you should too. So that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you have any questions yourself, feel free to leave them in the comments section below, and I'll hook you up next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Peace.